So I've been putting off doing this sill plate and rim joist for quite some time now. It's been 3 or 4 weeks since we demolished the patio, and I think I need to start doing something with it. I've been putting it off because, quite honestly, it scares me. Because I could just see, my luck, here I go, gung-ho, DIY, let's smash this baby out here. Next thing you know, the wall's falling off my house, and so quite honestly, it scares me, and I haven't found much, if anything, on the internet about it. That's usually what I do. If I don't know what I'm doing, I'll go straight to the internet, YouTube, Google, and there just doesn't seem to be like any information. The plan is I bought 3 2x6x12s. I'm gonna screw all 3 of them together to make myself a nice beam. I'm gonna take that beam, I'm gonna start it right here on this joist here and run it all the way down to where I no longer have to replace. And then I'm going to use some 4x4s. I'm going to have a 4x4 every 2 feet. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the beam up there, get it kind of toe screwed into the joist. Then I'm going to use 4x4s. I'll cut them, I'm thinking a 1/4 inch long, 1/4 inch longer than they need to be. And then I'll use another 4x4 in my floor jack, and I'll jack up on the floor until I can get that support post in there, and hopefully that'll take enough of the load off of that sill plate to where I can cut the anchor bolts and slide that right out, slide my new one in, lower it back onto it, and everyone's happy. And the thing is, you don't want to go jacking, you don't want to go crazy and like give yourself a foot. I watched a video and some guy jacked up his freaking house and put 2 2x4s stacked on top of each other in there, and I'm like, holy crap. Like, you think about it, none of the rest of your house is getting jacked up, so he probably had a lot of plaster upstairs that he had to patch, and I don't want to do that. I don't like plaster. I'm not a plaster guy. Humans were not meant to plaster. I look really red. I think it's the lighting in here. Anyways, as it turns out, a 1.5 ton car jack is not enough to lift up a house. I was thinking maybe, because I wasn't lifting up that much. I didn't think it'd weigh that much, like a section of the house, but apparently it does weigh a little bit more than I thought, so I ended up running out. I've been to Lowe's twice now. There's still stuff that I forgot to get. And the second time I went, they didn't even have what I was looking for, even though on their app it said that they had them in stock. So luckily, Advanced Auto is right down the road. So I picked up a 6-ton bottle jack, which did the trick. I got this section here lifted up, so we've got 2 support posts in there. Basically, I just took, and you can actually see the wood grain in these 2x6s here. I had cut a 2x6 a little shorter, used the jack it up so I can get both support columns in there. I leveled them up, dropped it back down onto them. And you can tell the house is lifted up because this 4x4 support for the stairs is firmly secured to nothing. So I'm doing 2 foot on centers for the support posts, so I've got one going in here, one right there, one there, one there, and one on the end, which someone didn't do the math right and we're one short. But anyways, so I'm just going to work my way through here and jack it up. Alright, so it's now Sunday evening, a little after 9 o'clock. And my dad came over today and gave me a hand for a little while, which I appreciate. It's always good to have an extra set of hands, because sometimes, especially when you're handling 12-foot long pressure treated 2x10s, it is nice to have an extra set of hands there to help guide them into place. And so I got what we got accomplished today. I didn't do much filming. I get in on like a roll, you know, and I'm like, I just do it, you know. I don't even think about filming it. It takes a lot of time, you know. And when you got things disrupted in your house, like I had to take out a section of the drain pipe, so we couldn't use any water. So, you know, when you start doing stuff like that, it takes so much longer when you have to set up a camera and worry about that. So I didn't do much filming, but I will tell you about what I did. So as you can see up here, we got the brand new pressure treated 2x10 sill plate, and it worked out perfectly. We had that beam up here, jacked it up, took the pressure off of that, and this first section here, there was like a section that was only like 4 foot. I cut it here, and the first section was like 3 foot long. That's where they had a splice. And that section there literally just pulled right out. The old one pulled right out. I had a little bit of an issue with the longer piece here, the old one. This span here, up at the stair landing, there's a piece of blocking in there that this whole stair piece and wall is sitting on. And I was jacking up on either side of it, but I guess there's enough of a span there, and it was pinching my sill plate, and I ended up just jacking up quite a bit more on either side, and was able to get enough lift out of that to get the old sill plate out on the new one in. So that's what I did. I started out with this section, 12-foot section. So it worked out perfectly because my 2x6s were 12 foot long, and the sections of sill plate I got were 12 foot long, so I could do, you know, one section at a time. So I got this section here done. I dropped the house back down onto it, and then we moved on to the garage. One thing, when I started this project, these 4x4s were supporting the stairs and they were touching the ground. Now they're not, which I don't see it as an issue. These were something that were added later, and I went up there and I stood up at the top and bounced around, and my dad said that wasn't touching the ground. So I don't really think that they're necessary. So I'm not too concerned about it. But I think that what happened was on the old sill plate, you could actually see indentations where the joists were sitting. So I think over time those settled, and when they put these in, you know, the house was settled, and now that we got a fresh sill plate in there, the house is sitting a little bit proud of where it was, which is also screwing up some stuff upstairs, because there's a door right here above this spot here. And since I replaced, you know, this side and I didn't do that side, now this side sits a little bit lower, so the door is out of square and it doesn't open and close like it used to. So I'm gonna have to make some adjustments to that door, but that's no big deal. And I did have a few cracks open up upstairs. They were all like existing cracks, nothing was like new. So they were just old cracks that reopened up when I started jacking on the house. Now out here is a disaster area. I had, you know, my tool benches here and work benches, and I ended up having to move them to get the jack, the beam and everything in there. So you see I still have some of them in here. I cut 4x4s to span from this joist, and I cut them just about tight with the rim joist on the outside. I don't know how well you can see that, but yeah, you can see it pretty good. So I cut them just about so they were touching, you know, on both sides. And then on the end here, I screwed in 3 2.5-inch screws just to kind of tie those to this floor joist, so that I wasn't just jacking on the subfloor, because I didn't want to, like, you know, cave that in. So anyways, I got those all in there, and then what that does is that spans from this joist to the underside of that wall, so that way we can jack up on it and take the pressure off of that rim joist so we can get that out. So then I took my 2x6 beam there and hoisted it up in there. Basically did the same thing as inside the house. Got it up there tight, jacked it up. It was pretty amazing. I had one post here in the middle, that's where I was jacking from. That's why this was the drain line that I had to remove because it was in the way, so I had to cut it, which I'm not happy about because when I redid my sewer line, you know, I wanted to make this all like one piece, and now I got 1.5 million couplings, but it's not leaking, so. Actually it is leaking, imagine that. Well, that sucks. Anyways, so it's pretty amazing because I had one post in the middle that I was jacking up on, and just from this middle section, jacking up on that, it actually lifted this end of the joist was off of the sill plate, and on this end it was off. On this end you'll notice I haven't lowered it back down. There's about almost a 1/4 inch gap still underneath there, and you can see where the sheetrock used to come to. But that's because we didn't get it all done. So anyways, we used that to jack it up to get the pressure off of the sill plate and the rim joist. So what I did first was I took out the sill plate, pounded it out from the inside. I found that was actually worked out pretty decent, taking a 2x4 and just whacking it. You had to hit it pretty hard, and it would just, eventually it would slide right out. And then what we did was I used a Sawzall and cut out some of the rotten areas. I didn't quite feel safe removing this whole rim joist because I wasn't sure if, even though it wasn't touching the sill plate, if it was still carrying some of the load of that wall. So what we did was we cut out the rotten section, slid in the new sill plate, and then we went through, and one section at a time I'd cut the rim joist just past my 4x4s, and then we'd come through with the bottle jack and we'd jack up on the floor out close to the wall to lift it up just slightly, and then we cut these 4x4s to put in there to support that outside wall. And we just, one section at a time, we went through and, you know, put a piece of blocking in there to secure the wall. That way, just in case that sill plate was holding some of the load, it wouldn't matter, because now that would be tying the, you know, the upper wall right into this sill. So then we, once we got all the old sill, or the old rim joist out, we set about putting in our new one, which was kind of a pain because, well, there's a little bit of a variation in the lumber. Back in the day, the 2x10s I guess were 9 1/4, and the 2x10s that I picked up were 9 1/2, thereabouts. So yeah, we couldn't get it in there, so we ripped it down to 9 1/4, and even still we had a heck of a time. We got it in on this end, and then we couldn't get it. It was catching on like some of the pieces of the subfloor, so we finally ended up getting it in there. Had to do a little more jacking, you know, and get it up a little higher. But as you can tell, I'm not a framer, because just about all my toenails went in a little shallow, like that one there that completely didn't even go into the subfloor bog. But yeah, this has been completely let down, except for I left these last two support posts in here because you can see where the new rim joist ends, and I just put a piece of 2x10 out there to keep animals and what have you from getting into the house overnight. So I'll leave that jacked up until we get the rest of the new rim joist in, and then we'll lower it down onto it. Real exciting things. Man, that bums me out. Should have gotten the rubber no hub.